all I've got to then do, because if I try and do the block, I've got to undo all loads of different connections. Taking the boiler off the wall will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 connections. Flue, pop it off, take the vessel holes out, change the plate, pop it back on. Hopefully it should be quicker than having to faff around with taking the block out. Right, let's not waste time, let's just get on with it. How are we doing, everyone? Thanks for tuning into today's video. So we've got another mixed bag for you. We've got boilers coming off the wall. We've got me driving missions to try and get people's heating up and running. I hope you enjoy it. I'm getting closer to the 9K mark, which is, got there pretty surprisingly quickly. It feels like I only hit 8K yesterday. So thank you everyone who's been subscribing. If you are watching and you haven't subscribed, I'm going to pause this video right now. The goal for me is to try and get to 10K by March. I think that's realistic. If I can get to 9K by the end of this month, then I think by March or end of March should be a realistic target to get to 10K. Please help me out on that front. I really appreciate it. Let's get on with the video. Hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you in the next one. Right, first job of the day. We've got an Ideal Logic Combi Plus, full service on this one. So from the outset, it looks like a nice install. So I'm hoping no issues inside the boiler. We'll get it stripped out. I have brought obviously a new burner still with me. I brought a new burner with me as well, just in case, and I brought a sump with me. But from the look of it, before taking the case off, the Logic Pluses, they were the newer versions. So I think they upgraded the material that the sump's made out of, because I think in the older ones they were made of a weaker plastic, and then they upgraded it in the newer ones. So we'll take it off, and I don't expect the sump to be split, but if it is, I've got one with me. Hopefully the burner's not got the flappy bearing plate on it, or the baffle plate on it. Hopefully that's all okay, but I have got the bits if we need to change it. Customers has reported that when they run the heating, it makes a woo noise, which is typically the gas valve I've had in the past. But I'll check everything out as I do my test when I'm running the boiler. Let's get the case off. Done a drop test already. Literally gas meter is just on the other side of the wall here outside. So I'm going to get the case off, start draining it down, do the wet side first, recharge the expansion vessel, clean out the filter, and then we'll start stripping it out and cleaning up the inside, and then do our 269 checks. Right, boiler's been drained out. Just recharged the expansion vessel, which wasn't flat at all, which is great. You can see someone's recharged it. Don't know what date, well, actually it doesn't say what the date is, it just says 1.01. But yeah, visually it looks absolutely spotless. Even the condense trap, there's no gunk in there whatsoever. It's nice to finally open up an Ideal Logic and not have anything to worry about. Even the injector, that doesn't even need cleaning. Obviously I'm going to still take it out and inspect it, but that is as shiny as you like. However, one thing I have noticed, gas valve with the blue connection there, or connector, just trying to put two of them together. These are known for that whistling sound. So when I run it, if it makes that whistling sound, I'll have to come back with a new gas valve and get that sorted out. But I'm going to start stripping this all out now, have a look at the burner, make sure that's all okay, take the fan out, clean the venturi, clean the injector, and then put it all back together and test it all. But yeah, so far it's looking good to me. Right, fan assembly is all stripped out. Venturi is nice and clear, so that's good. Injector, that's all nice and clean as well. You can see straight through there. So no blockages on there and no furring on there. That's exactly how we like it. The fan inside as well, that's spinning freely. Burner plate is not springy, that's nice and solid, so no issues with the burner. Let's get the burner out and give the heat exchanger a little bit of a clean inside as well. Right, let's get the burner out. So the 4 8mm nuts have been taken out. Now I know people have different ways of getting the burner out, but this is how I do it. Literally just pop it up from there. Try and do this one-handed. Well, it is only a one-handed job to get this out, but you've got to sort of lift it. You've got to get it past that bit there. So lift it above, flip it back on itself, and then literally just turn it. Make sure clear all the cabling and pull it out like so. So that burner looks in good nick. Obviously I've got a new seal, so I'm going to change that over. Let's pop the burner in there for now. And the main heat exchanger doesn't look too bad. So I'm going to give that a little flush through. Give a little brush, because obviously aluminium heat exchanger, so it narrows down at the bottom, so it can only get in so far. So mainly I just flush it through with the Karcher, make sure all the crud and the debris gets down in there, will catch into the condense trap, and then I'll empty that out as well. Right, that's all the crud that's come out the main heat exchanger, so not a great deal. That's all been flushed through as well. So yeah, it's pretty clean. Took a bit out of it. So let's pop that burner back together, change the gasket on it, and then start doing our 26.9 checks. Right, burner seal's been replaced. So that's the old one. Part number for the burner seal, 175572. If anyone else needs it for van stock, or if you're going to do a Logic boiler service, that's the one that you need. Let's get this back in. Right, that's done. Shut the door on that. Let's get on to the next one. Right, this next one, got an electric combi, one of the ECA electric combis, and the tenant's complaining that having some issues with the hot water. Obviously the electric combi flow rate maximum they can achieve is about 7 or 8 litres a minute. So firstly, my colleague here with me, CJ, he's reduced the flow rate down to what, about 5 litres a minute? Yeah, so he's just basically turned it down from the isolation valve there to restrict the flow rate. We've now got the temperature clamps on there, and we've got a 37-degree rise. So in terms of what the boiler is supposed to be doing, it's doing its job. 37, 38 degree temperature rise. We've got 11 degrees coming in and approximately 50 degrees coming out. So that's doing its thing. We're going to check, apparently there's a bar mixer here, a thermostatic one, and that might be the issue of the hot water fluctuating up and down, up and down. But in terms of what the boiler's supposed to be doing, spot on. That's almost a 40-degree temperature difference. So boiler's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Just going to have a look at the thermostatic bar mixer, and if it is just that, then that just needs swapping out, simple as that. Okay, so that last one, there was nothing wrong with the boiler, but it just goes to show, if you've got the right equipment and you've got someone debating what you're saying, you can show them. The proof's in the pudding. You can see the temperature figures on the display. Technology doesn't lie, it tells exactly what's going on. We tested the kitchen tap, we tested the bathroom basin, tested the bathroom bath taps, and we tested the thermostatic shower mixer. Everything's holding temperature, nothing's passing down the heating flow pipe, so we know that the diverter's fine. The boiler's not overheating, so we know the plate's not blocked, and we're getting a 40+ degree rise on all the hot tap outlets. So, trying to get all of that in one breath, it's not easy. But yeah, everything's working good, so nothing really to report there, except get paid a call out and go on to the next one, which is a plate on a Worcester. Let's go get it. Okay, so here at a Worcester Green Star, you may have seen this in some of my previous videos. I've done a full strip down service on this boiler before. The customers reported that they're having problems with the hot water. The temperature is fluctuating, hot and cold, hot and cold. They've been a little bit unwell, so they didn't want me to come out in case they pass it on to me, and I took it on to the kids, which is really understanding of them. So in the meantime, they've actually been on the phone to Worcester Technical, and they've basically gone through the necessary checks, and Worcester have come to the conclusion that it's the plate heat exchanger. So I've got the plate with me today, but obviously it's quite an expensive part. So I'm just running my own tests as well to make sure that it is the plate, that there's a blockage in the plate and it's not the diverter valve or anything else. So currently I've got my temperature clamps on the hot and cold. I also actually just want to feel, it might actually be the diverter valve as well, because that flow pipe is getting quite hot. So we've got an 18-degree rise between the cold and the hot. So we've got 33 degrees coming out the top, which is the hot pipe, and we've got 14 degrees, which is the temperature on the cold mains. Now I'm just going to switch number 64 over to the flow pipe, and I want to see if that temperature starts creeping up, because if it does, that indicates that it's not the plate but it's the diverter valve. So now I want to check, see what's going on with that one there. It seems to be dropping out. What's it doing? It's still connected, 064. Right, let's just wait and see what we get on that. I'll be back in a minute. Right, so the boiler's actually just gone off as well, which indicates that it's most likely going to be a block plate, because it means that the boiler's overheating. The pump's now pulsing, it's trying to get rid of the heat. So until it does that, the boiler's not going to fire back on again. So just going to let it cool down, see how long it takes for it to come back on again to get rid of the heat. But yeah, it does look like it's the plate heat exchanger rather than the diverter valve, because sometimes what can happen is if the plate's that badly blocked, it will start pushing the heat down the flow pipe, because if it can't get through the plate, then it has to go somewhere. So it starts then pushing for the diverter valve. So it can sometimes indicate a faulty diverter valve, but the fact that the boiler's cycling on and off when you're running the hot taps, that to me looks like it's a block plate. So let's start getting all stripped out and let's get a new plate in. Okay, so I've just been looking at what's the best way to do this plate. Just my luck, it's rear piped, and the worst part of this is the return pipe, which is there. The plate's literally sitting on it, so there's no way that's going to drop out the back. There's a couple of ways I can do this. I can take the block out and do it that way, but in all fairness, I'm just going to take the boiler off the wall. I think that's going to be the quickest way, because all I've got to then do, because if I try and do the block, I've got to undo all loads of different connections. Taking the boiler off the wall will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 connections. Flue, pop it off, take the vessel holes out, change the plate, pop it back on. Hopefully it should be quicker than having to faff around with taking the block out. Right, let's not waste time, let's just get on with it. Right, boiler is off the wall, so now I can get it swapped, get the plate swapped out, and you can see here, this is the bit that was going to get in the way of the plate, so there's no way I was going to be able to drop it out through the back, and also got all the pipe work here as well. So boiler's off. Now I've got much more space to try and get it changed. Now I did have the camera set up recording this on a time lapse, but when I came back to it, it was frozen, so I don't know if it recorded me getting the boiler off the wall or not. I hope it did. Well, I've got to do the job anyway, but it would have been nice to have it recorded. But if not, yeah, that's what it looks like when it's off the wall. So I'm going to change the plate and then get it back on and then retest it. Now it's important to note you get the right size plate, because this is a 28 kilowatt. So it's got a larger heat plate. So this is a 14 plate heat exchanger. I think it says on here as well, yeah, heat exchanger 14 plate, and that's the part number for it. You do get the 10 plate ones, which are the smaller ones for the smaller kilowatt boilers. So you want to make sure you get the right size plate for the right kilowatt boiler. Otherwise, it can potentially cause problems with the hot water going forward as well. So I'm going to get this swapped out now. It should be a lot more easier now that the boiler's off the wall. I can just undo the screws, swap it out, and then get it back in. Right, so the plate's been swapped over, and that's the old one. So you can see there is actually quite a bit of dirt on the system side, so you can't actually even see through it. Obviously the domestic sides are right, but the system side is just completely black, and there's a few chunks that have come out of there as well. But yeah, that's been changed over, so the new plate's on the back now. So you can see it's a lot more easier once the boiler's off the wall. And luckily, because obviously we've just got the kitchen sink here, can put it on there, so any residual water that comes out the valves at the bottom is just going to run straight into the sink. So
no problem with any water going anywhere. Now I'm just going to grease up the seals on the flue, change all these washers over as well for the new ones, and then get the boiler back on. Okay, we are live. Boiler's back on, drop test is done, gas is all tight. My camera's probably about to run out of battery because I've been trying to film this whole thing. So, don't know how long it's going to last, but yeah, we're back on. Everything's open, no leaks. Just going to finish off my 26.9 checks and make sure that the hot water's working fine, and then going to get out of here and get on to the next one.
Right, apologies, it's a bit dark. I've just arrived. You'll never guess where. Luton. So I don't work in Luton, I don't live in Luton, I'm in Romford in Essex, but a customer has specifically asked for me to come up to Luton to check on one of their rental properties. They only wanted me to come and do it, so yeah, I'm here. Obviously I've charged for my time and travel to get up here. I've got a suspicion it's a zone valve issue from what the tenant said to me. They sent me some pictures. They're saying they've got either heating upstairs but not downstairs, or vice versa. And I saw that it's unvented cylinder, S-plan, this, that, the other. So let's go inside. Let's see if my suspicions are correct, and we will go from there. Okay, so this is the setup we've got here. So it's S-plan plus because we've got two heating zones, one hot water zone. They're saying that the hot water is working fine, downstairs heating is working fine, upstairs heating is not working. So I'm going to turn on the thermostat for the upstairs heating, and I'm going to check. Well, I'm just going to see if this motor's over. I mean, that feels a bit ropey to me already compared to the others. So I reckon it is probably just a synchron motor, but we'll get the wiring center open as well. We'll check that we've got power going to the brown for the upstairs zone valve. If we do, and that's not motoring over, it should just be a simple case of changing over the synchron motor. Let's do some tests first. Okay, so downstairs thermostat is calling for heat. So you can see we've got the flame symbol on there, and that's on 21. The upstairs thermostat, let's check that as well. So that's here. So that's showing 17.5, and we've got the flame symbol on there as well. So both thermostats are calling for heat. Now let's just check the zone valves here. So I can hear the pumps come on. Downstairs zone valve, that's opened, so that's fine. But upstairs, yeah, that's just rock solid right now. So let's get this wiring center open and just double check that we've got power on the brown to the zone valve. If we do, then it should just be a case of changing that synchron motor over. Okay, so it's not your standard wiring center. So I'm not actually sure how I can test this zone valve because these watt cables are just plugging straight into here, and I can't see which is like the brown, the orange, this, that, the other. But I'm just gonna go ahead and, yeah, because that's not doing anything. I'm gonna whip the head off and see if there's any movement on that valve as well. Make sure that's all nice and free. And I think I'm just gonna change that synchron motor over. And that should sort the problem out. Right, I've had to take the wiring center off of the cylinder because I couldn't get to that screw there when it was on there. But I've got the head off, spindle is moving nice and freely by hand, so no issues there. That confirms, yeah, that synchron motor is hot as well. So I'm going to get one out of the van, get that swapped over, retest it, and hopefully that should be it. Right, that's all back to go. There's the old synchron motor. Right, let me go and turn the power on. Right, power's back on. Bottom one, that's open. Top one, oi, look at that. Look at that. When you listen to the customer, when they tell you what the problem is, it's very important. You've got to listen carefully to what they say. They had heating upstairs, sorry, they had heating downstairs,
hot water was fine, no heating upstairs. So that tells me that all the other components are working fine. The boiler's doing what it's supposed to do because the boiler's firing for the demands that it's getting. What's left? Upstairs on valve. Change of the synchro motor, that's all working. And I can really feel the heat coming through it. Job done. Let's get back to London.